Slauson Woolner is an author that shows up in upper room publications often. She tells a story of her spiritual life. She says this: years ago at a retreat, one of the women told us a story that changed my spiritual life. She had rescued an abandoned, frightened young dog who had not only been abused but had been half drowned. He desperately needed cleansing and medication for his wounds, but not until she began to lower him into the tub did she realize how deep his fear was of the water. The water where he had tried by his abuser, where his abusers had tried to drown him. I don't know how closely you follow the Inforum and the little tidbits of news there. There's the big items, and then there's the little items. But this week had some especially difficult news. This week down by Anoka, there were two angry parents that decided they didn't like their child's grades. Child was 11 or so. And so they shaved her head and they put her in a diaper and they made her run up and down the street until the neighbors saw it and were horrified and called the police. The strange thing was the two parents in the squad car were laughing and trying to figure out why in the world they were arrested and why the rest of their kids were turned over to social services. I can't even imagine that kind of humiliation and heartbreak. Closer to home, a Barnesville man, was walking down the middle of a road. And I don't know the whole story there, but it sounded like he just stepped in front of the car that was coming his way. That happens from time to time. The woman driving was 16 years old. I can't even imagine what that would feel like as a 16-year-old, at any age really, to hit somebody. Elsewhere in Fargo and Bismarck, people were sitting, you might have caught these, sitting in their own homes minding their own business. Minding their own business when all of a sudden one person just happened to be drunk and drove right into the living room of a home in Fargo. In Bismarck, there was a woman who was in a rage chasing her husband. She drove into somebody's home as well. There are things way more difficult than tipping over in office chairs and weariness after Easter. A heartbroken world, searching for alternatives. I don't know if you've seen the book advertised. I've been looking for it locally. No luck yet. I might have to break down and get it online. I have joined the International Cause online. I haven't gotten my purple wristband yet. The purple wristband is for when you goof up, when you start to complain. The cause is called the complaint-free world. When you complain, and not like there's a fly in my soup and you tell the waiter and you get your soup changed out. That's not a complaint. That's just assertive problem solving. But when the waiter walks around, you're whining to other people and carrying on, and days later you're still carrying on. That's complaining. And when you complain, you move the purple wristband from one wrist to the next to kind of remind yourself, oops. Well, there's a widget you can get online, with just a little thing that pops up. Has a little quote for the day, inspiration, and it has a number that comes with it. It starts at 1. That's the first complaint-free day. And as you go along with complaint-free days, they just keep adding up and the number keeps growing. Yesterday I went back to 1. I've gone back to 1 several times. 21 days is the idea without complaining. 21 days because supposedly in 3 weeks a new behavior can be learned if you're successful each day. The world is a broken and confused place. And as Christ's followers, the one thing we are called not to do is add to the brokenness and add to the confusion. We are called to live and love like Jesus. Which brings us back to that motherly woman who adopted the abused dog and described how the dog screamed and fought when she brought it near the tub. The whole body tense, a solid mass of fear. Flora writes, the woman said, very quickly I realized what I needed to do. There was only one way to reach him. She stripped down to her underwear and got into the water, and then lifted the dog in on top of her. The fleas, the dirt, the blood from them both, and she held him, gently stroking him, quietly talking to him until he began to relax, and the deeper cleansing began. Says Flora, I know of no better story of the incarnation and the way God deals with our wounds and our hardened defenses, and is also a story of a mother's love. We follow the God who steps into our pain and our fears and our struggles with us, willing to accept the wounds for our healing. Greater love has no one than this, Jesus says, to lay down one's life for a friend. And then Jesus calls us to do the same, to be his friends by doing what he instructs us to do, by reclaiming the purest message of Jesus. Love one another, even as I have loved you.